Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends. Guys, welcome back to our /Entitled People, where you'll hear wacky stories about people who think they deserve special treatment over others. It's absurd, I know. Guys, I hope you're having a great day today, and let me tell you, the lineup of stories today will leave you shaking your heads, especially the last story. I do hope you enjoy the stories, and let's dive in. Oh, and hit that subscribe button for future tales. This is a story about the time that I served the worst table ever while working at Olive Garden. So first off, it's 9:45. We close at 10 p.m. This table of 3 walks in and gets seated. I greet them and things start off as usual. I'm just upset that they came in so late, but whatever. They end up wanting a tour of Italy, which comes with fettuccine alfredo, lasagna, and chicken parmigiana. Now, we had been out of the lasagna since 8 p.m., so I asked her if she wanted to substitute it for something. Now, she did mumble that she should get it for free since we're out, but she ended up subbing it for something. About 30 minutes passed, and I had already brought their food and such. She wanted to try all of our soups, as she had also bought the soup and salad bundle. Now, we have 4 soups: minestrone, chicken gnocchi, pasta fagioli, and zuppa toscana. The last soup she hadn't tried was the minestrone, but we were completely out. I told her and she got very upset. At the end, she asked for extra Alfredo sauce to take home, and I told her that we did not have any more Alfredo. I want to note that this was now 40 minutes past closing. She then freaks out and demanded to talk to my manager. So I ended up getting him, laughing with him about her behavior, and he wanted to talk to her. She then flipped her lid, going off about how we shouldn't be open this late if we can't offer full service. The manager then says, "Excuse me? We aren't open. We closed 40 minutes ago." So she then goes on about how her meal should be free because we were out of everything, and how we handed her a full menu but we didn't have it all. My manager did not give her a single free thing because he realized how entitled she was sounding. When I walked over at the end to hand her her change back, I heard her mumbling about the worst service she's ever had. And prior to that, she said, "Guess we shouldn't come here again before closing." Good. Please don't ever come back. Oh, and did I mention this inconsiderate person did not tip? Yeah, they made me stay an hour past closing for nothing. Ugh, what a terrible thing to have happen, guys. The no tip and the fact that OP had to stay late. So guys, I used to work at Quiznos and hated when people came in like 2 minutes before closing and demanded we fire up the oven to make them a sandwich. And let me tell you guys, a lot of people took their to-go sandwich and they literally sat down in a corner after closing and wouldn't leave until they finished. I remember this one guy was eating his sandwich 10 minutes after closing and literally told me to stop mopping the floor so he could eat in peace without me splashing water everywhere. Some people suck. They really suck. So I got my first retail job when I was 13 years old, and now I'm 23 and I have a lot of entitled people stories, but this is one of the worst ones. I was working at a hotel from when I was 15 years old till I was 18, and I loved the job there. I was in charge of the disco for kids who were staying at the hotel. So there was lots of dancing with kids from ages 2 to 11, a lot of face painting, and I got to walk around in a big mascot costume. Now, the costume was incredibly cute, but the costume was also giant, and it was impossible for me to see anything, and I wasn't allowed to talk. Everything that was under a meter in height was out of my sight range in the costume, so whenever we were going around, someone had to follow us for several reasons. The person walking around with us basically had to be our voice and eyes because we could walk into stuff and kids. And they were also there to answer questions that children had, and most importantly, they dealt with Karens in the hotel. And I promise you, there was no shortage of those. Now, a lot of the parents never understood that other people's kids, and not just their own, wanted to give hugs to the mascot. So we often had parents pushing kids out of the way, yelling at kids to let their kids go first, and even lifting their kids over the crowd so they didn't have to wait. We could have 200 kids at the same time in the restaurant sometimes, so yeah, it could be difficult if people did not respect each other. Now enters the entitled Karen. A real "can I speak to the manager" Karen. She and her family came to the hotel fairly often, and she would always do something stupid and act entitled. The year before, she chased a bunch of kids out of the bouncy house so her kids could have it all to themselves. So we knew to watch out for her. This day, there was a conference and a holiday, so the restaurant was packed, and the mascot could no way get through there. We ended up making a line for the kids who wanted hugsies. And the line, Karen was having none of that for her precious little angels. I was saying hello to a kid in a wheelchair, so that took some time, and Karen goes straight to the kid and the parent who were first in line. I was in the mascot costume, but I could clearly hear Karen's voice talking to a little girl, trying as hard as she could not to sound fake. Karen says to the girl, "Hello, my family and I are in the middle of dinner, and we just wanted to say hi to the mascot as quickly as possible, so we have to go in front of you, okay? It'll just be a second." Now, I could hear the little girl's dad chime in, and he said, "We're in the middle of dinner too, and we're here first. Sorry, but your kids have to wait in line like everybody else." I then hear Karen say, No, that won't do. Come here, Ethan. You say hello to the nice mascot." She was also trying to get past the kid in the wheelchair now. I then hear the dad say, "You are not gonna go past everybody else. Be an example to your kid and learn some manners." Ouch. Now, I knew from past experiences that her hearing that would not be good. I squeezed my companion's arm and she stepped in and said, "Sorry, but you have to go to the back of the line. Everybody here needs to do that." Karen then gets angry real fast and she says, "Do not talk to me like that. Do you know who I am?" She then kept arguing with my companion and some other parents and getting louder. The manager of course heard her and ran over and said, "Ma'am, you are causing a scene. We have to ask you to leave." And of course, Karen refused, and hotel security was called and came and took a hold of her arm and said, "Please, come with me for a little while." Karen then starts screaming at the security guard, who then tried to pull her away. Karen of course lost her marbles and went berserk and started kicking, and actually kicked the young girl in the face and ends up breaking her nose. The young girl's mom came over and took care of the young girl, and the dad goes after the manager, the waiter, and the Karen from hell. The police were of course called and charges were pressed against Karen. She was also thrown out of the hotel with her family. I don't feel bad for her at all, but I felt bad for the kids. The 4-year-old girl who was kicked in the face still had a small scar on her nose the last time she came to the hotel, but thank God nothing more happened and she didn't seem to be scared to be there. I always took extra good care of her after that episode. Unfortunately, I don't know what happened to Karen after that with the police and all, but I never saw her again and thank God for that. Way to go, Karen. You get arrested for refusing to wait in line because your time is more valuable than others. Guys, I don't know about you, but if someone kicked my kid in the face in anger and broke their nose, I'd have no choice but to absolutely ruin them. Either that or I'll just rip their nose off their face. I don't know, guys. Listen, I've read enough pro-revenge stories that I know what I'm doing. I think. Now, for clarity, at my wedding, we had 2 cakes. The beautiful little wedding cake and then the sheet cake for everybody else to eat. This is from a couple of years back, but it will always stick with me. It was our wedding day. Nothing fancy, which was perfect, and everything was going smoothly. I was happy in my wedding dress, my hubby looked amazing, it was perfect weather, etc. We had an outdoor wedding in the afternoon. And after the ceremony, we did the cake cut bit. Everybody cheered, and then we invited people to get started in the food line. We decided to get our photographer and go take some last-minute pictures before the sunset. Now, we were gone for maybe 10 minutes, and then came back to see that our cake, the pretty little wedding cake that my friend, who's a pastry chef, baked for us, was gone. Now, not someone took it away from the table and placed it somewhere else gone. The slices of cake that we cut were gone. I couldn't believe it. I look around and saw my sister-in-law was sitting at a table with her 6 kids, each with giant pieces of cake. And I mean giant. The entire cake was split into 7 pieces for her and the kids, and they were all wolfing through it fast. So I went up to her and said, "Hey, did you take all the cake? My husband and I have not even had any yet." She said, "Yes, you did. I saw you cut the cake earlier, and you had a piece." I told her, "Well, no, we cut it, but didn't you notice that none was missing? We had to go take a couple of more photos before the sun went down, and we didn't even get to try it yet." So she then tells me, "Look, my kids were wanting dessert first, and they didn't want that sheet cake." Now at this point, I'm trying to be patient and not cause a scene at my own wedding. And I said, "Look, I get that, but you basically ate all of my wedding cake. Now I don't even get to have that memory with my husband. Didn't it occur to you to maybe not take the whole cake for yourself?" So she then says, "Whatever, that's really not what this day is all about, and honestly, you should be grateful that we came at all. Do you know how hard it is to get 6 kids out the door for meaningless little things like this?" Now at this point, my hubby has overheard what's happening and comes over to jump in. But not only has he heard, so did my family and my best friend. If there are 2 people in the world that you don't want to mess with, it's my sister and my best friend. Imagine 2 minuscule 5'1" balls of fury that are now flying over. Sister-in-law is now looking horrified, as all of them are in her face and yelling. She turns absolutely beet red before saying, "See if I ever come to one of your people's weddings again." She then tries to simultaneously grab all 6 kids at the same time to get them to her car fast. My sister then grabs a slice of the sheet cake and throws it at her, hitting her in the back of the head with it as she stomped away. Anyway, we haven't heard from her again, although I did get a text about a week later from her oldest kid, apologizing for her mom's behavior and for eating my wedding cake. The rest of the wedding was lovely. My friends, I feel so bad for the child who had to apologize on behalf of his mother's entitled behavior. But hey, he did eat the wedding cake too. Nobody forced him to eat it. Guys, listen, so from reading entitled wedding stories over the past few months, I can now safely give you guys a list of things to not do at someone's wedding. Okay, are you ready? Number 1, do not propose at anybody's wedding unless you have permission from the bride and groom. Number 2, do not wear a frickin' wedding dress to anybody's wedding, unless you want to get it covered in red wine or chocolate or something that looks like poop, I don't know. And number 3, I'm adding the do not eat a whole frickin' wedding cake that belongs to the bride and groom. That should be common sense though, that's clearly common sense. I love how the entitled woman eats the whole cake and then has the audacity to say that she'll never come to any of you people's weddings again. It's because you won't be invited, Karen. You will not be invited to anybody's wedding after that. You silly woman. Now my friends, brace yourselves because this last story is a longer, more serious one that involves an entitled brother. So, quick backstory. My entitled brother and I were raised in a semi-traditional household where boys are revered and girls are frowned upon and considered irrelevant, burdens, and overall disappointments. This resulted in a spoiled, coddled brother. And to quote the phrase from Willy Wonka, a kid can't spoil himself, you know. Now, my brother grew up with my parents fully paying for his post-secondary education, along with residence, tuition, books, and meals all paid for since my parents did not want him to distract himself with a job while pursuing his BA. Throughout the post-secondary years, it was becoming evident that my brother was using our parents more like a bank than anything else. No calls or visits unless he needed money. We never see him except for holidays, and that usually ends with him asking to have some money. At first, parents obliged, but I could see that they slowly started to realize the entitled monster they created, so they started cutting him off. Somewhere down the line, he then hooked up with sister-in-law, and then got her pregnant. He fell madly in love and threatened to quit school so he could help her raise the child. Now, because our dad was paying for schooling, he basically told my brother over my dead body, "You will die before you quit school," and that if he wanted to quit, he would be on the hook for all of the tuition up to that point. So long story short, my brother gets pissed off and he moves out. He gets a job doing low-end retail. He finished his degree and gave up an amazing job in his field to support sister-in-law and the kid. So about a year later, our dad fell very ill to stomach cancer, and the prognosis was not good. At the time of his diagnosis, he was given approximately 3 months. During the 3 months, my brother would only come by the house when he needs money, and only stuck around long enough until he either received a check or was told no. He never even asked how dad was doing, and never wanted to spend time with him. So after dad passes away almost exactly 3 months later, the first thing my brother asked our mother was if dad has a life insurance policy. My brother's presence was not welcome after that, and even though he attended the funeral service, he left quickly after making his obligatory appearance. Approximately 2 weeks after dad's funeral, I came home from work one day to find mom sitting with dad's good friend, who was also a life insurance broker. Curious, I asked her what the purpose of George's visit was, especially so recently after dad passed away. She explained to me that she was changing her life insurance policy. I didn't ask her any details, but she told me it was a $500,000 policy. I asked her what the reasoning was, and she basically told me, "Don't worry, it's just something for you in the future. I haven't told your brother yet about this, so make sure your brother knows, but not until the time is right." My brother never came to visit mom after dad passed away, unless he needed money. And over again, nothing was shelled out to him. I don't know what hurt mom more, the fact that her husband of 40 years was gone, or that her only son has become a complete entitled monster, treating her like complete garbage. Now, it was at this point where it gets worse. My entitled brother would start to blackmail her into giving him money by not letting her see her grandchild. He would then start to verbally attack her, telling her that she's the worst mom ever, that it was her fault that dad died, and that she's depriving her grandchild of a decent childhood, etc. And sister-in-law would often chime in at the same time. It was horrible. A few months after the encounter, mom passed away from a heart attack and stroke. I could barely think. I was in so much grief and shock at the thought of losing both parents in such a short time frame. After signing the paperwork at the hospital, my brother said he would drive me home. I had in my possession our mom's personal things: clothes, jewelry, purse, etc. On the way home, while I was crying and trying to figure out what to do, my brother says, "Hey, can you look in mom's purse to see if she has any money? I'm hungry. Kid needs food too." I was furious. Without a word, I looked in her purse and fished out a $20 bill and flung it at him. Then the next thing out of his mouth was, "Thanks. Hey, do you know if mom has a life insurance policy? Like, are we getting any money from her death or what? I could really use some money to pay off some debt, and I want to buy a new Cadillac." I was so angry. Our mom had just died, and here my brother is thinking about how much her death is going to pay out. I then realized that's what she was getting at back then. I then thought to myself, I guess the time is right now. I told him, yeah, she told me she has a life insurance policy. I guess she wanted to make sure we were taken care of in case something happened. And you could see my brother's face light up. I almost smacked him over it. I'd give up any amount of money to have my mom and dad back, and this idiot is drooling over a life insurance policy? He said, really? How much? Are we rich or what? I told him $500,000, and his eyes lit up. The whole ride back, he was talking about, oh, I'm gonna buy this, I'm gonna buy a new house, I'm gonna buy a Porsche. He basically didn't even talk about my mom's death or planning the funeral. The whole time, it was me, money, money, money. A few days after my mom's service, and yeah, my brother did show up, but he left as soon as he could, I get a call from my mom's insurance company. I answered the call and I found out that I was the sole beneficiary and I would receive the life insurance payout. I was shaking, so I called up my brother with the unfortunate news. I told him, hey, I just got a call from the life insurance company about mom's policy. He said, oh yeah? When do we get the check? I told him, yeah, that's just it. According to them, I'm the sole beneficiary for the $500,000 payout. Brother says, so you're giving me the money, right? You're gonna give me half? I didn't know what to say, so I stayed quiet and all hell broke loose. He then screams, you'd better be giving me half that money. I swear to God, I will come find you. What about my kid? He needs food. We need rent. We need to pay off our vacation. Don't you dare do this to me. How could mom do this to me? So at this point, sister-in-law then grabs the phone and she screams, you did this, didn't you? You told your mom to cross off your brother's name on the beneficiary list. You're just jealous that you don't have kids and you aren't married. You just want all the money for yourself. Our child needs this money for education and you're gonna steal it from him? You would steal from your own nephew, you scummy slut? I'm gonna sue you. That money's ours. You don't deserve a cent. We had a few chats after that, which just turned into more verbal abuse, so I decided to move on and change phone numbers. It turns out that mom and dad had apparently had a different view of my brother over the years and realized that my brother was only using them for money and didn't really care about them. Cutting him off financially didn't really do any good, so mom figured that she had to play this ultimate checkmate from the grave. Now, I did find out from dad's friend, the life insurance broker, that when he came to visit my mom was in fact changing her beneficiaries. She did cross my brother's name off the list and have me as sole beneficiary. I haven't talked to my brother for years, and he hasn't gone out of his way to try to contact me. I do feel a little bad for him. Guys, I don't feel bad at all. The brother was super entitled and didn't care about his parents, like at all, aside from the fact that they were his bank. Like, I hate the fact that OP's brother basically used his parents for nothing but money, to the point where he even blackmailed his own mother, threatening no contact with her own grandchild. It's always so sad to hear stories where families break apart over money, and I couldn't imagine doing this to my own parents. But like OP said, her mom and dad did create this monster. So my friend, let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think the brother deserved it? I personally think there's no winners in the situation, and it just sucks. It sucks that the brother only saw money, it sucks that OP lost her parents, and it sucks that the mom had to do this to her son in the end. And that, my friends, brings us to another end of our /entitled people. Whew, that was a wild one, guys. If you enjoyed the stories, do hit the thumbs up, and if you missed the last episode, I'll link it right here. OP's mom doesn't believe in allergies and literally almost ends her son's life by trying to prove him wrong. Check it out if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I love you.